Hyperfocus mode is one of the most fascinating and least understood aspects of ADHD in children. People often think of ADHD only in terms of distraction, restlessness, or an inability to concentrate, but the reality is far more complex. Children with ADHD can indeed struggle with focusing on tasks that feel boring, repetitive, or unmotivating, but at the same time, they can display the opposite behavior, which is known as hyperfocus. This means that when a task or activity captures their interest, they can spend hours completely absorbed, tuning out everything else around them. Imagine a child who cannot stay seated during math class but who can sit for 3 straight hours building an elaborate Lego castle, barely noticing the world moving on around them. This is not laziness, stubbornness, or lack of discipline. It is a reflection of how the ADHD brain is wired to respond to stimulation and reward. The ADHD brain operates differently from what we consider typical. A key factor is dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and reward. In ADHD, dopamine regulation functions in a way that makes routine or unstimulating tasks feel painfully difficult, almost impossible to sustain attention on. However, when the activity provides immediate and exciting feedback, like a video game that rewards progress every few seconds, or a creative project that feels deeply satisfying, the brain locks in. That locking in is hyperfocus. It is as though the brain finally finds the level of stimulation it has been craving, and instead of bouncing around between distractions, it goes all in, pouring energy, attention, and creativity into a single channel. Parents sometimes feel frustrated when they see this happening. They ask questions like, if my child can spend 4 hours on Minecraft, why can't they spend 20 minutes on their homework? The answer lies in the difference between external reward and internal reward. Minecraft provides a continuous stream of dopamine hits, new discoveries, progress, challenges, and excitement. Homework, by contrast, may not feel rewarding until it is finished, and even then, the sense of accomplishment may not be strong enough to engage the ADHD brain. Understanding this helps us shift from viewing hyperfocus as a contradiction to recognizing it as part of the ADHD profile. Hyperfocus can be a double-edged sword. On one side, it can be incredibly productive and even life-changing. A child who hyperfocuses on painting may produce artwork well beyond their years. A child who hyperfocuses on coding may build an entire game before their peers have written a few lines of code. These moments showcase the hidden strengths of ADHD, where passion and focus collide to create extraordinary results. On the other side, hyperfocus can become problematic if it prevents balance. A child might forget to eat, ignore bedtime, or neglect responsibilities because they are so deeply absorbed in their activity. This is why guiding hyperfocus becomes essential. Parents and teachers can support children by recognizing when hyperfocus is happening and gently redirecting it when necessary. For example, instead of fighting against it, families can use hyperfocus as a motivational tool. If a child loves drawing, perhaps parts of their school projects can include artistic elements that tap into this passion. If a child loves video games, elements of game-based learning can make academic tasks feel more rewarding. Hyperfocus is not about control, it is about alignment. When the child's interests are aligned with their responsibilities, hyperfocus becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. It is also helpful to teach children awareness of their own hyperfocus. Many children do not realize how much time has passed when they are absorbed in an activity. Encouraging the use of timers, alarms, or gentle parental check-ins can help them develop the ability to pause, take breaks, and maintain balance. This skill becomes even more important as children grow older. An adolescent who hyperfocuses on social media or video games may risk neglecting schoolwork, friendships, or even their health. Helping them learn how to step out of hyperfocus without shame builds long-term self-regulation. Another way to guide hyperfocus positively is by connecting it to goal setting. If a child has a long-term project, breaking it down into smaller, engaging parts allows hyperfocus to engage with each piece. For example, if a child is writing a story, parents might encourage them to design characters one day, create illustrations another day, and build chapters over time. Each stage provides stimulation while contributing to the larger goal. In this way, hyperfocus becomes a powerful engine that drives progress rather than an isolated burst of energy. Teachers can also harness hyperfocus in the classroom. When they notice a child's passion, integrating that interest into lessons can transform engagement. A child obsessed with space exploration may struggle in math, but when math problems are framed around planets, rockets, and astronauts, suddenly attention sharpens. By leveraging hyperfocus in a strategic way, educators can help children with ADHD feel capable and successful rather than constantly out of step. On the emotional side, hyperfocus can also bring challenges. Children sometimes experience a crash after emerging from hyperfocus, feeling irritable or overwhelmed when they are pulled away from something they were deeply invested in. Parents can ease these transitions by using gentle signals rather than abrupt interruptions. For instance, a 10-minute warning before ending video game time can prepare the child's brain for the shift, reducing meltdowns. Over time, routines and consistent expectations make it easier for children to navigate these transitions. It is important to remember that hyperfocus does not only apply to hobbies or entertainment. Many children with ADHD can hyperfocus on relationships, emotions, or even worries. A child might replay a conflict with a friend over and over, unable to shift attention away. Or they may focus so intently on an upcoming test that anxiety builds into paralysis. Recognizing hyperfocus in these areas is just as critical, because it shows us that the brain is not choosing where to focus based on what is useful, but rather based on what feels urgent or stimulating. In these cases, guidance and emotional support are necessary to redirect the child's attention toward healthy coping strategies. One of the most hopeful aspects of hyperfocus is how it can translate into strengths later in life. Many successful artists, entrepreneurs, scientists, and athletes attribute their accomplishments to their ability to dive deeply into their passions. What might look like distraction in one setting can become brilliance in another. For children, the key is learning how to channel this intensity. Parents and teachers who nurture interests and build balance are planting seeds for future success. Consider a child who spends endless hours building elaborate structures with Lego bricks. At first glance, this may seem like play, but it can also be the beginning of engineering skills, spatial reasoning, and creativity. If guided positively, this hyperfocus can grow into a career in design or architecture. Another child who hyperfocuses on storytelling may one day become a writer or filmmaker. The challenge is not to suppress hyperfocus but to steer it toward meaningful and rewarding pursuits. Families should also be mindful of their own expectations. It is easy to become frustrated when a child can sit for hours doing what they love but struggles with daily tasks. Instead of seeing this as unfair, reframing it as a neurological difference helps reduce conflict. The brain is not broken, it simply responds differently. Supporting children where they are, while gradually teaching skills to manage balance, brings far better results than constant arguments and punishments. In conclusion, hyperfocus is not just a quirk of ADHD, it is a fundamental part of how the ADHD brain works. It shows us that these children are capable of deep, sustained attention, but only when the task provides enough stimulation and reward. This means the potential is always there. The challenge lies in guiding it, shaping it, and connecting it to goals that help the child grow. With patience, structure, and encouragement, hyperfocus can shift from being seen as a problem to being celebrated as a hidden strength. It is a reminder that within every ADHD challenge lies the possibility of unique power. Children who learn to channel hyperfocus into healthy and creative pursuits can thrive not in spite of ADHD but because of it.